I was a English department chair, so my job was to irritate him in various sorts of ways. I'm just going to say I've been a member of the APS for, I guess, 81 years, and I love this organization. I absolutely love it. I collect Wisconsin postal history and Cinderella stamps. And I edit a Cinderella journal and the Factory Postal History. I'm active in 4 organizations. I'm currently secretary of the APS, and I'm running for re-election. I'm a member of the Sauk County Library Board. I'm the secretary of the board. I'm a member of the Wisconsin Federation of Stamp Clubs. I'm secretary of the Wisconsin Federation, and I'm a member of the Heritage Community Scholarship Corporation and secretary of the Corporation. I've been trying to hone all of my skills to be the best secretary that the APS has ever had. And I have gone on longer than my secretary's report earlier in the day.
Are there any questions for Jay?
Yes.
Secretary of Spirit.
Just a little bit. And I enjoy being, I think there's being a secretary involves keeping your mouth shut and listening. And I don't think there's any better way of learning what the issues are in any organization than volunteering to be that year's secretary, because you are forced, you are encouraged not to shoot your mouth off because then you have to lay it down. And you need to listen. So if anybody else is interested in running as secretary for the secretary of this organization, it really is a good gig for learning what the issues are and what's important to the society.
Thank you. Is there a second question? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was 8. Somebody has 9. Now you have 9. Depending on which way you turn the.
My name is Bill Schultz. I'm from Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm an accredited judge. I've recently been asked to become a chief judge, which made my day. I've been a stamp collector for 61 years. I've been exhibiting for 51 years. Very few people in the room can make that statement. For those who are doing the math, I started when I was 16. My first exhibit was UN C1 to 4 color varieties. I still have that exhibit. I can't seem to divest of it. Too much sentimental value. I've been in a number of philatelic positions. Currently, I'm the regional vice president of the U.S. Classic Society. I'm just recently stepped down from Canage. I served on that for 2 terms under the able guidance of Steve Reiner. I also have been president of 4 different stamp clubs in the Philadelphia area. Consultant to the board of directors of the Philadelphia National Stamp Show, and I'm very happy there as jury coordinator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a member of the campaign for philately in terms of working closely with Ken on a number of issues, and also with Alfredo on a number of issues. I would say that my main collecting interest is Pennsylvania coastal history, but I also collect Faroe Islands. I've also exhibited canals on airmails. I've also exhibited U.S. traditional, and I also can tell you that I've medaled, notice the word medal, I didn't say gold medal. I've medaled in 8 different classifications. Only Tim Barchi, to my knowledge, is ahead of me, and we're racing to get to number 11 or number 12 before anybody else does. It's been an exciting, almost career for me. I was fortunate enough to retire at the age of 46, and I've devoted 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to the hobby since then. So I haven't done a hard day's work in 20 years, which I'm very proud of. I also was fortunate enough to be married to a very talented woman who's president of the corporation. She keeps me in the style of custom. And she reminds me of that every morning. Any questions?
What position are you running for?
We're running for part of the slate of board vice presidents, Mark Banchik and Ron Lesher. Ron, unfortunately, couldn't be here.
And is there another question, a second question?
That was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was number 9. Is there a 10? I know somebody has 11, because we were discussing whether I was in the Roman alphabet.
Well, that was a big decision. Is this English or Roman? Good afternoon. I'm Mark Banchik, running for the position of Board of Vice Presidents along with Bill Schultz and Ron Lesher. And we have 3 very talented individuals. Our talents combined are much greater than the individuals, and we're going to work together as a team. Part of the responsibility of the vice presidents, besides the normal board functions, participating in running the organization, are the disciplinary and the judicial process for the society, membership and member issues, which are dealt with in a closed session. So you don't hear about a lot of what the Board of Vice Presidents does, but it helps keep the society going and helps maintain the integrity of the society. Part of the roles that we have looking forward are we're taking the initiatives that have been put in place over the past several years to make the APS a strong society and to continue those initiatives and build upon them. APS now financially is in very good shape. Personally, I have contributed to this, and I encourage many to contribute to going forward with the APS, whether it's volunteer, whether it's financial resources, or ideas. The APS is the backbone of philately in this country. I've been involved with the APS as a family member of multi-generational involvement, where it was sort of in the bottom. So, joined back almost 25 years ago, between the team of us, we have close to a century of APS membership. Probably more, but some of us fudging our ages a little bit. We're going forward. I've exhibited internationally and nationally with the Mexican-American War, how the United States went across the continent and became the country we are today. But also, it's to support the APS, act as an ambassador going forward, champion the organization, both local, nationally, and internationally. The service, I'm the treasurer of my local staff club. We do have a mid-6-figure budget, but it is a local staff club. Involved on the boards or as an officer of several of the major military organizations. And the proudest achievement I have is mentoring others and bringing them into both positions of leadership, so there's a depth of leadership in the background who can hand off and watch the organizations grow with other people's ideas and input. And that, I think, is the most important, setting the stage for the future of the organizations as we go forward. Thank you.
And are there questions for Mark? I don't see any from this side, so thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you for coming. And contested election is a wonderful thing because it keeps interest in the society.
That was number 11. I lost track of the next year, next week. I don't know that.
3 years from now.
Yeah.
Or the archives, huh?
So good afternoon, my name is Alex Hyman. I'm running for APS Vice President with Mick Zace and Yumio Curry. Yumio also regretfully could not be here this weekend. I've been an APS member for 16 years, a lifelong collector. I also started by my second grade teacher. It was a few years after Mick got started by his second grade experience. I have had 10 years of professional background in and outside of the stamp world. Started working for Robert A. Siegel Auctions out of high school, then went to Washington, D.C. for college and worked on staff for 5 years for the Smithsonian National Postal Museum. There I was part of the team that built the Arago Virtual Museum website. I was involved in PR and other marketing initiatives through the Postal Museum until 2010. In 2010 I went to St. Louis, Missouri. I'm originally from Michigan, so transplanted back to the Midwest. I had an opportunity to go to Washington University where I just received my MBA. I run currently in a full-time role the consulting practice based at Washington University. We do work for small, medium, and large nonprofits and companies all over the world, all over the United States. I manage professional staff and many teams of varying sizes doing work for all these different organizations. In the stamp world, I've been publicist of the United States Philatelic Society. I was the founder and still board director of the Young Philatelic Leaders Fellowship. I've spearheaded fundraising of over $100,000 over the last 40 years to self-fund and keep the fellowship running without the need for funds coming from the APS, or additional funds coming from the APS. I believe wholeheartedly that the philatelic world, the best parts of the philatelic world, the best years are to come. I'm running for this with my fellow candidates because we all believe that our experience, our opportunity to serve in this capacity present just that, the hope that the best years are ahead of us. And with our fellow board members, if we're fortunate enough to be elected to the APS board, and the volunteers and staff, we believe that we'll be able to bring about even more enhanced membership services, new collector outreach, and opportunities for membership growth that we're only just getting started on with the work of the current board going forward. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Alex? No questions. No questions? Well, thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
So that was number what? 13, 21, something like that? 12, okay. What are we up to now? Dan, you really are last.
No, I have 19. I have 18.
Oh, well.
And I don't have a number.
Oh,
Well, actually, there's two potential ones that may not have a number.
they have to wait.
Don't mind this morning. I'm going to sit down here right here.
You have to sit down in the middle.
This is fun. Okay, my name is Stephen Reinhardt. I'm running for president of the APS. I'm presently a member of the Board of Vice Presidents of APS. Additionally, I'm chairman of the APS Committee on the Accreditation of National Exhibitions and Judges. This committee has oversight responsibility of our 100 judges and 31 WSP shows. Other past and present responsibilities include president and current treasurer of the American Airmail Society, president and a current member of the Board of Governors of the Collectors Club of New York, present and, member of the Board of Directors of the Philatelic Foundation in New York, president of the Aerophilatelic Commission of the International Federation of Philately, president of the International Federation of Aerophilatelic Societies. I could go on, and I won't bore you with that. I think there are three areas that, as president, I want to make sure I devote a good portion of my time to. The first is fundraising. The society cannot exist in its present form without the continued generous support of its members. It just would be totally impossible. I think that's going to be a big part of my job to ensure that this continues. Secondly, service to its members. We must identify those services that our members desire the most and either strengthen those that we now provide or find ways to totally develop new services to meet those needs. And one of the things we're going to be doing soon, I assume we're talking about it anyway, is a new member survey to find out just what our members want of us. And I would certainly follow through on this. The third thing that's important to me is the completion of our headquarters project in Belfast. We must complete the construction of our headquarters complex, including moving the library to its permanent location and maximizing our rental income. This is very, very important to us as a society. Outside of philately, I was chairman, I'm treasurer and chairman of the asset management committee of my church and church school for 10 years. I'm a retired mathematics teacher and department chair, and was a union contract negotiator for most of my 33 years in education. I'm married, have 2 children and 4, soon to be 5 grandchildren, who are joys of my life. And I've been a collector since I was 8 years old, and truly a philatelist since I was 18 when I first joined the American Airmail Society. And I've never given up the hobby, not even in college, like a lot of people do, and go back. I've collected stamps and been members of philatelic organizations since that time.
Are there questions for Steve? No questions. I ought to be going over my own. No, I don't. I didn't realize I could. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think, Dan, the people who have drawn numbers here the last
Okay.
Then we'll go on other 2 people.
My name is Dan Walker. I am running for the office of Director at Large. Longtime stamp collector, started at age 8. 42-year member of the American Philatelic Society. I'm sort of a long-tooth person on running for board. I've been on the board many years, and I'm running on my last 3-year term. I collect, my major collection is Indian native states. I also collect 4 or 5 other stamp areas, and I collect postcards from 3 areas and paper ephemera from fire insurance companies. The board has made tremendous progress by working together on the APS. We have changed the society very materially over the time that I've been involved, particularly the last 5 years. We are now a major real estate firm. We have major real estate investment. We have a very positive cash flow. As Wade Sadi has mentioned, we have gone from a deficit of about $500,000 4 or 5 years ago. We're up to close to $900,000 positive in what I call retained earnings. That's not the technical term for nonprofit. I belong to many philatelic organizations. I have many volunteer organizations. I've been president of a condo that I used to live in probably for 30 years. Past president of the Coastal History Society, past president of the British Caribbean Philatelic Study Group, and many other organizations. I'm going to keep it short, so that's it. I'll be happy to answer questions. Please vote for me as Director at Large. Thank you.
Are there questions for Dan? Easy group.
Thank you.
Now,
And no pursuing
right, would you like to draw numbers to people who
Age before beauty.
Well, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, my. The gloves are off. You might as well just, you're up here, you might as well just do your spiel.
I'm Edgar Hicks, and I'm running for re-election. I've been asked a couple of times today why I waited so late to put my name in the hat, and I thought I'd give you all the negative. My campaign speech, I guess my negative approach to this. I ran for election thinking that I was a financial wizard, that I had communication skills, and that I was going to be a TV celebrity by going out and promoting the APS. Well, I found out by being on the board that we have someone that is treasurer of the organization that I could never hold a light to. So that eliminated one area, even though I thought I went to college in New York, a commodity stockbroker, I thought I was a financial wizard. I could never hold a light to anything that Kathy does. It's just so fantastic. I even understand it. It's just the other piece was membership, and I thought by being an APS member, I could go to different schools and talk about the APS. Matter of fact, that even happened. I did a PBS program, and I thought, boy, I'm going to be a fantastic celebrity. I think Janet gave me an acknowledgement that I did a good job. But I spent a day and a half with PBS promoting the homestead. They did a great job of promoting the APS, and they used about 3 minutes promoting the APS. So that was very discouraging. And then I thought the membership, and we talked about the finances, I thought I could do a great job there. So I thought by going out, talking to schools, because I relate to financial issues, get more members. I thought if I got in front of schools, talked to people, did programs, take the example that I use, I've done a Black History program every year. I'm an APS member, and this is 1 year, nobody asked me to do Black History. I figured I failed there. And so I just thought, well, I don't need to run. And so when I made up my decision last night, it was yesterday morning, night before last, it really was based on the fact that I thought we would have 7 or 8 candidates like we did when I ran before. I didn't want to stop anybody who I thought was more capable than me from running. The other piece was, you know, it's a standing joke at the Omaha show is, name the only show chairman that has never exhibited. And the judges would come around, and it got to be really frustrating when I would be judges who I had never met before. And say, oh, you're the guy that has never exhibited. And so one of the challenges that I had was to prepare an exhibit this year for our show, which I haven't done for Omaha show. So I just decided I wasn't going to run again. But then yesterday, I got more excited about putting my name in the hat again because I asked some questions about something that I thought 2 years earlier I wouldn't have asked questions about. So I felt that maybe I was giving something back by becoming more knowledgeable about the hobby. The one thing I guess I really learned is like the Peter principle, the mediocrity. Well, you know, it's kind of like the level of mediocrity, in my view, has been raised by being on the APS board because nobody's mediocre. So it's like a new level, a higher level of being mediocre because we have so many talented people on the board. So my expectation, except for Wade Side. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were here. So anyway, that's about it. I've been members of the Omaha Club, thanks to Stephen Wright. By the way, I'll give you an example of why I also feel, I often ask myself, suppose I had walked into the Omaha show, and this is, I can't remember what year, but it was when Steve lived in Omaha. Suppose I had walked in the show and had been greeted by Steve Rod. And after he greeted me, he was so friendly and outgoing. You know, he took me around and showed me. I kept thinking, why is this guy hanging around with me? He was so outgoing and just made me feel I owe the hobby so much. I would like to be like Steve Rod. Again, I'll never reach that level, but it's nice to strive for it, right? And so I just feel that obligation to people like Steve because I've learned so much from the hobby. And that's why I run. I'm running it. So I hope you don't have any questions.
Do you have any questions? Are there questions?
I just have one question. I want to know why you picked on me.
I didn't know you were here. Oh, by the way, I collect Ethiopia, Liberia. My favorite publication is Philatelic Exhibitor. I was 1 year too late. I think we started in 85, 86, and I joined in 87. I'm 1 year late. I've been a 1 year member of the Chicago Club. I've been a number of year member of the Omaha Club, Chicago Club, I said that. Cincinnati, I was trying to remember all the towns I lived in. I couldn't remember. Milwaukee, I think they had a club that was joined. Rocky Mount, and I will get an exhibit sooner or later. I have the material. You know, buying the material seems so easy. It's just sitting down to put it together. And that was another reason why I hesitated to run again, because I realized maybe I'm not as organized as everybody on the board. They seem like they're such talented, organized people, and I seem so disorganized. So that's another reason why I hesitated from running. So I guess it's almost like a vote for me, no, never.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and we have a question.
Where are you not living today?
Right now I live in Omaha. This is my 14th city that I've lived in. I'm a commodity trader, corn trader, which, by the way, I'm not retired anymore because I realized I'm spending too much money. I got to get a job, so I took another job so that I can buy items in my I got a job so that I can come to the show and buy items.
And are there any other questions?
What's the topic of your exhibit to be?
Well, I have a Liberia exhibit on President Johnson, Liberia. I have a topical corn exhibit, which I see Phil here. I just love his bamboo. If I could do a corn exhibit on the way Phil did his bamboo exhibit, I would be just tickled to death.
Thank you very much. And Hobson's choice. You're it.
Somebody had to relax. And I thought I would set an appropriate standard by showing you I can walk in 2 minutes. All right, thanks to everybody for being here. I'm Ken Milsiskin, I'm running for treasurer, and at this point I'm unopposed, so it's not too late if you want to find somebody else, but I'm happy to do the job. I'm a CPA, I've been a licensed CPA since the 1970s, sometimes I got in 76. My career has been devoted mostly to the area of tax. The last 25 years or so I have specialized in international tax. I have a long career that I expect to end on October 31st this year, and so I'm anticipating being able to devote sufficient time to the position of treasurer of the APS. In the past, and currently, I'm the treasurer of the Collectors Club of Akron. I'm the treasurer of the AmeriStamp Club. In Cleveland, we have an international piano competition that is one of the one or two best in the country, and I've been treasurer of that for 5 or 6 years, and I'm treasurer for many other things in the past. And that goes back 30 plus years. I was treasurer of the Akron Symphony when I was back in the mid-80s when I first moved there, United Way organizations and so forth. And I've served as a trustee in various charitable organizations for more than 30 years. In the hobby, I've been an APS member since 1979, a collector since the late 50s, exhibitor since the late 70s. I've served on the finance committee for the APS for the last 2 years. I'm president of the France and Colonies Philatelic Society and have been president of that for about 5 years now. Again, I didn't count it, it seems like forever. I became an accredited judge in 2006, and I am a chief judge, which I think happened to me in 2011. Again, dates aren't that important. I am an author as well, and if you have the Philatelic Exhibitor, if you just let it fall open on the staple, you'll see my most recent article on this issue. All right, what do I want to do as treasurer? I think that it's important to the membership of the American Philatelic Society and to the hobby of philately that we operate in a financially responsible manner. And I think that's been happening. It's not something that I think I have to change, but I think we have to do that. We need to find revenue, we need to control our costs, and we need to spend the money that we do have wisely. We have to make important decisions as members of the board as to how to use our assets and resources. I look forward to working with all the board members, with all the members, with anybody else who's interested in philately, with the employees of the APS. Get along with them too, because they are a very important asset to all of us in this room. I think it's important that we work the debt down on the building in Bellefonte while mortgage rates are low, because as Ken said yesterday, they reset in 5 years. I don't know what you folks think, but with Treasury printing money as quickly as it is, I expect rates will be materially higher in 5 years. And the less we have outstanding, the better off we'll be financially. And I want to make sure, as Steve mentioned, that our member services are effective, they're what we want, and they're provided at a reasonable cost. And it may mean that for some services that today we're not charging, we charge, or that we adjust fee schedules to raise money that more adequately matches the cost of those services. I don't know yet. I haven't been to a board meeting to study that. That's what I have to say. Anybody have any questions for me? Thanks.
Easy group.
Yes.
I'll just open it up. Are there any questions somebody thought of later for any of the other candidates that they'd like to shoehorn in?
Are there candidates running who aren't here, like Kristen Patterson, Steve Zwillinger? Are they standing again?
Kristen Patterson is. Steve Zwillinger, at least as of now, has not been nominated or reported that he is running for re-election.
So are there other people running for director?
For director, currently there are, as of up to date, there's 4 candidates for the 4 positions. Dan Walker, Edgar Hibbs, Nick Lombardi, and Kristen Patterson. Yeah, so Nick Lombardi is not here and he's running.
And each of the vice president slates one person for each of the slates is not here.
So we have currently 1 candidate for president, 1 candidate for secretary, 1 candidate for treasurer, 4 candidates for 4 positions in director at large, 2 slates of 3 for the board of vice presidents, and we have one candidate. There's also a APS members-elect 2 members to the Library Board of Trustees. Right now, we have one candidate for those 2 positions. Lots of hands now.
John, in that, I have a generic question for anybody running for office in this organization. A few years ago, and I wish I could remember the year, but I'm starting to forget things, the board authorized formation of a committee to create a long-range plan for the APS. The committee did that under Wade's signing. We presented the plan to the board. The board accepted it as written. My question is, if you're running for office in the APS, what are you personally going to do to make sure this plan gets executed and to make sure that its progress is mapped along the way?
Do any of the candidates wish to answer or have an answer ready?
Mark?
Well, that's a very good question, John, because it can require more than an elevator speech. The plan that you've put into place with the help of the board is fairly complex and quite detailed. Some of the aspects have already been implemented. We see some of it going forward with adjustments in staffing responsibilities and priorities as we go forward. Some of it for the building. Some of it is still at the level of discussion. We're still being worked on, and so it's dealt with as this morning's general meeting brought up in executive session, where the man can brainstorm it, but if some of it is put out for public distribution, it can either hurt people unintentionally or lead to unintended conclusions, even though it may still only be a working document. It's a roadmap. It isn't engraved in stone, but it gives us a good guidepost as we go forward, knowing full well that externals can change around us. Right now, for example, as Ken brought out, we're in an extremely prolonged low-interest environment, which has allowed us to fund some things internally and get a greater bang up for our buck than we would have if it had been funded as originally suggested by the plan. That wasn't quite as anticipated, but we're taking advantage of the situation. So the plan is a phenomenal roadmap, but which allows us to take advantage of opportunities which present itself. In 5 years, we're going to see a tremendous change in our external financial environment, so that with lower debt, thanks to part of the plan and taking advantage of the opportunity, we can take advantage of a lower need for financing and use the money that we would have spent for financing for enhancing other member services. There are member services which have been evolving over the years. For example, with the library, there's a tremendous demand now for digital services as opposed to mailing books back and forth. We also have an expectation which has changed over the past few years of immediate gratification. 10, 15 years ago, if you wanted a book, you'd write to the library, find out if they had it, they confirm they had it, then you'd ask for the borrower if it was available, and wait a week or so for it to show up, use it, and then return it. That was a 1 to 2 month process. Now with immediacy and demand and expectations, you go online, you look at a database, see if it's available, where it is, and when it's available, and often can get a download of a synopsis of the particular pieces you want, or the few pages you need can be scanned and sent to you, all within the same business day. So that's a change that wasn't even anticipated a few years ago. Another area which the society is aggressively going forward, and these are all discussed at the board level, these are in the minutes that were presented to me this morning, are archiving information. When I first started my last office, we had 5.5-inch floppy disks, which we had to remind the secretaries not to thumbtack to the board members, because they didn't work very well afterwards. Now, we're using all thumbnails. And in a couple of years, all those disks that we harvested, that we saved and we have all our data on, are going to be useless because we don't have anything to read them on. So the technology is evolving in ways we can't even anticipate. Having a roadmap in place as a guidepost to helping us make decisions is one thing, but some of the actual things on the ground are changing in a way that we don't know yet. But this is the
Of course, one of the elements of the plan was to reconvene.
John, why don't we also let the candidate answer? Just, I think Dan had his hand up before Alex.
I'm going to be very short. John, we've set up the Oversight Committee. It's chaired by Roger Brody. It's the 2 immediate past presidents, 2 presidents of the APS and the APRL, and the 2 treasurers. And they have specific SMART goals that they have to report to the board on. And that's the way that we're going to hopefully follow that long-range plan.
John, thank you very much for the question. Our slate, I speak for all three of us, are interested in really running for this position because of to build off the incredible work that your group and the volunteers that work with the Long Range Committee, plus the current board, put forth to stabilize the society and give it an opportunity to move forward. We believe that the way you don't repeat history, especially the history that didn't go so well, is to understand what came before. So I believe the first thing we would do, and we've discussed this, is to speak with you and other members of that committee that had their hands into the detail, into the weeds that really led to the formation of the long-range plan. And then, of course, anything we could do in our position as on the board to support the oversight committee would be our major priority. All the ideas we might have about new services, all the ideas we might have about strengthening elements of the society are no good unless we're able to make sure that problems and road bumps and speed bumps that the society encountered in years past don't come up again. So the first thing we would do is reach out to the other committee members to understand where the core of that plan originated from and where it stands now, so we can support it moving forward.
Were there any other candidates who wanted to answer John's question? If not, I thought I saw another question someplace. So, Ada.
I'd like to wait to present his qualifications for the post of employment.
Can you say?
Could you repeat the question?
It's about the salary that we get.
Ada wanted to know what Wade's qualifications are to the immediate past president. Janet has said the bar so high and so long. Janet, you're not running for anything this
Janet
time?
and I are going to
I
vote.
can fight your tongue.
I'm leaving for Janet, actually.
Oh, okay.
I told her that many years ago.
Are there any other questions, fanciful or otherwise? If not, I thank you very much. I encourage you to talk one-on-one with the candidates during the rest of the show, and of course in the months to come if you have particular concerns. I think as a former candidate myself, I think they do want to hear from you and want to know what you're thinking. And they're probably thinking about the things you want to ask them. So thank you very much for coming.
And for all of us who are present, there's 8 hours on our website.